cause I be busting the dope moves. But the problem stay the same. How you riding for the cash when you ain't riding in my lane? Shorty all about the paper, so your mixture look the same. In the game I play the lane like Eddie Kane, cause I be busting the dope moves.
But I'm talking about cells.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly, a single cell organism.
Cells is nucleus.
Right.
You know, look like our
single
solar
cell
system.
organism.
Yeah.
But my point is, the same thing that they say evolution do, cells do. But you say the cells can do it.
Change, bro.
So
cells
can we,
change.
under the right conditions. So can everything that's ever lived on this planet under the right conditions. You got plants that are exact.
But I don't disagree with you at the form that you think I do. I just don't agree with nothing Darwin. I just don't.
Yeah, but Darwin is natural selection, like more like survival of the fittest, not evolution.
Listen to me. I said I think they turned monkeys into humans before. Like, I think that's what happened.
But who had the information and the technology to do
I don't believe people as dumb as you acting like they is. They got shit that scientists can't explain today, like at all.
I agree with
it's mad shit they can't even explain, so why we even bothering with them niggas?
Because some of it can be explained.
It'd be underground caverns they can't explain. It'd be pyramids they can't explain. It'd be all types of shit.
I'm agreeing with you about all that, but that don't mean everything can't be explained. Sometimes when you have enough examples of one thing, it leads you to a scientific theory. Like gravity. Are you going to
for sure.
tell me gravity's not real because it's a theory?
Like I said, I passed that science fair because I know freaking science. There's nothing to me. That's my second nature.
How can you know science when you're a creationist? You believe
I'm not a creationist.
You believe somebody created everything, correct?
That from their science. We probably ain't going to call it that today.
Brother,
today is some bullshit.
Brother, let me help you out.
That's theories. Today we do theories.
Creationists and science don't go together. Creationists believe that
it do, dog.
No, it don't. That's what religious people have been trying to do for the last 10 years. They've been trying to put science into their religion, and they keep coming up short.
Oh, you talking about the story. All right, go ahead.
Yes, I'm talking about the creationists. You don't believe that the earth was created by a god, or that the universe was created by a god. If you don't believe that, that something created the universe, you're not a creationist.
I don't think I'm that deep into it to be. I don't know about all that. I don't think any kind of being.
Well, you're not a creationist.
Yeah.
You're not a creationist.
Nah.
Therefore, you can't.
Nah.
You wouldn't fall under most religions, because most religions.
Yeah, I don't.
Most religions feel as though one supreme deity created everything.
Nah, I ain't into that.
Me neither. I'm with you 100%. I'm with you 100%. Not a creationist at all. Now, a theist believes
it's too vast.
Right.
It's too vast. The universe is too vast for that.
Agreed. Just like earlier, I was on live and I posed a question that I learned from an atheist group. Can God create a stone that is too heavy for God to lift?
Mm-hmm.
The reason atheists ask that question is because they say God is omnipotent, meaning he's all powerful. So this would prove omnipotence is a complete fallacy. If God cannot create a stone in which is so heavy he can't lift.
Hold on, I know what you're saying. Go ahead. I'm gonna let you finish.
So basically, if somebody said yes, God can create it, so he can create anything. He all powerful. Well, that would mean he could create something he can't lift. Therefore, he's not all powerful. So if you say no, he cannot create the stone because he can lift anything, then he's still not all powerful, because now you're taking away from the power to create. So either he doesn't have the power to create, or he doesn't have the strength of all power. These two things cannot exist in the same reality.
I don't know about that neither, because that question, even though it's a scientific question, people create things they can't lift all the time.
They ain't say people, they say God. Because
I know what you're saying. I'm doing what you're saying.
God is all powerful according to religion and shit like that. He can do anything.
Yeah. But scientists got a religion, if you knew that or not. It's called deism.
Theism?
Yeah, deism is the science religion, which says God created the earth and either died out or left.
But see, now that's another singular argument, because now you're saying all scientists are into that.
Most of them are, bro. Well,
right.
probably more than 50%. That's
You might be right, but that's still not all of them.
When I started to learn about religion, that's one of the first things I learned, that scientists got their own religion.
See, science.
That God just left everything like it is.
Like, this is what I'm gonna do. I'm just gonna be about you. I'm gonna make this about you. I'm gonna sit back and I'm gonna be quiet for once. You said evolution exists, but not like I say. How does evolution exist?
Because evolution is very, like, a lot of things that can go through evolution. That's not nothing. That's not nothing crazy. That's something that happens. That's you can tell this people's skin colors. It's something very simple. Things change. That's all that means. But the way you saying it's like today, like if we was going to school, it's connected with Darwinism. When you say evolution, is all I'm saying.
Well, Darwinism. I'm gonna jump.
And Darwinism has been proven wrong over and over, and nobody even got proof to say that nothing that he said is even consistent.
Darwinism is evolution by natural selection. So
they never even found a missing link, so that man got to get out of here.
Link has nothing to do with Darwin.
That's part of his whole theory.
No, it's not, brother. I'm trying to help you out, and I'm giving you brass facts right now. The missing link in humanoids has nothing to do with Charles Darwin. Charles Darwin said that all living organisms evolve by, they said, all right, we understand evolution exists, but why do certain animals evolve and other animals go extinct? Charles Darwin came up with a theory called natural selection, basically saying that if me and you are the same organism and you live in a place where food is plentiful and I live in a place where I got to fight other organisms like me for my food because it's very scarce, you and your offspring have a better chance of being healthy and carrying on your lineage than me due to my circumstance. It's called survival of the fittest. That's what
to me, that's still Darwinism. That's Darwinism.
Right. That survival of the fittest is Darwinism.
Yeah.
But survival of the fittest is what Charles Darwin gave as an answer for why evolution takes place. When he said what he said, it was already at the understanding that evolution is real. We can see it. It's happened.
His evolution is colonists coming to a village and shooting up everybody that wasn't even worrying about the niggas. And
see, racist
that's what it is.
His racist preference has nothing to do with science.
But that's natural selection according to Darwinism.
No, that would be like Hitler or one of them taking natural selection out of context. I'm not saying Charles Darwin was racist. I'm not saying that. But just because you're racist,
that's proven,
don't mean that your science is completely incorrect. Now, the way you use your science might be completely incorrect. Who you use it against or who you use it for might be completely incorrect. What you withhold because it would expose this group or that group may be incorrect. But to say that, it's a prime example. I can show you natural selection with an animal that you love, the American lion. He's no longer around. He's extinct.
Well, yeah, man probably hunted him and killed him and probably put his fur over their chest.
I'm agreeing with you, but man ain't hunt and kill 80% of the animals in America. Most of America's animals that they've ever had have went extinct. So even though they still have a gang of animals, they had far more than that.
Yeah, of course.
And that's what I'm saying. Why are all those animals extinct? The same reason why that same small mammal that traveled from Montana to around the rest of the world, the reason why in Africa it turned into great apes, but in America it didn't. It's because of, like you said, the living situation, the conditions.
Yeah.
How much food do you have to eat? How many children do you have in your life cycle? Those things are what make some animals evolve, and lack of those things are why other animals don't evolve. There's a white rabbit on Earth somewhere, and there's a brown rabbit. They're both rabbits, but they cannot reproduce with each other. As a lot of cats have this same issue. Dogs,
like a hare and a rabbit, they can't.
Well, I'm not sure about which one it is, but I know it's two rabbits on Earth that come from, as they say, the same exact rabbit, but they cannot procreate with each other. So when I say something comes from something, Paco, it doesn't mean something morphed into something. That's not what I'm saying. That small mammal that left from Montana and went across the Earth and went to Africa, a rodent-sized mammal, when he got to Africa, he found a perplexion. What was this perplexion?
I think let me try one. When a lion went to Asia, he got skinny and frail. And in Africa, they're 100% different.
Now let me show you how I used to be right where you are. I used to think exactly what you're thinking right now. It don't work like that. Let me show you how it works. The archaic ancestor of all these lions goes to Asia, goes to Africa, and goes to America. Being in this new place, eating these new things, and being exposed to these new areas and new chemicals is what turned that former lion, that archaic lion, into American lion in America, into an African lion.
So where do we differ? That's what I think. So that's where do we differ.
But that's the facts. That's what evolution is.
Just like you think the history of animals got to do with animals. And I told you I don't know about animals, but it's easy for me to find a history of what you be talking about.
And that's what I'm saying to you. If you trace evolution back to the beginning, from a cell to a single-cell organism to a multi-cell organism, everything is connected. My point being is this: you don't come from any monkey or any type of ape. You don't. A lemur monkey, I think we got but there's a reason
similar DNA.
There's a reason why. Because as all of these organisms were on the evolutionary tree, lemurs branched off at one point, as did monkeys. That's what you must realize. The same cells that created everything that's living, they change in different ways due to where they at, due to what they feed off of, and what they mix with. What chemicals they're introduced to. So the animals that change themselves in water are different than the animals who change themselves on land. And they're different than animals who play in both. So now we're talking about marine life, amphibians, and marsupials, mammals, and vertebrates. Because marsupials, mammals, and vertebrates, other than the duck-billed platypus, they're not known to breathe on. They're not known to be other than marine life. Like they're all different because they evolved in different parts of the earth.
The climate, yeah, the Australia is different climate.
Everything, the climate, what you eat, how you live. Why is the cheetah so fast? Because he had to catch his dinner. Why is the antelope so fast? Because he had to escape the cheetah. Bigger animals attack bigger game. Therefore, they did not have to evolve and be fast like the cheetah. Here's more evolution. There are different types of cheetahs. Because once the cheetah is a thing, you have the great American cheetah, you have the Asiatic cheetah, you have the Saharan cheetah, you have 3 other different types of cheetahs in Africa. And that's my point. Same thing, you like ravens. There are different raven species all over the world because different
crows, yeah.
Right. A raven is a form of crow, correct. But different crows eat different shit in different parts of the world and live in different climates and escape different predators. Therefore, you will evolve. You will adapt. Prime example. Let me show it to you with the monkeys and the apes. This mammal, D, goes up into the tree once he gets to Africa to get the fruit. So eventually, he becomes a skilled tree climbing, fruit eating motherfucker. And he's a monkey. Got a tail, so he can balance on it in the trees, right? So now, as monkeys get bigger and they eat better, they eating good. You know what I'm saying? They getting husky. So as these monkeys are getting bigger and they eating more, instead of jumping from branch to branch, they start to reach. And as they reach, their limbs extend. Once the legs extend to a certain point, You stand upright at a different angle because you have a different center of gravity. Therefore, the tailbone rescinds up. So you no longer have a tail, you have a tailbone. These are the first apes. These are not us. These are the first apes ever. They're not us. So now all other apes evolved from these apes. Now what happened when the ape stepped out of the tree? You got something before Lucy. Lucy comes from the apes that stepped out of the tree. Now you fast forward. What do you have? The first of the Homo genus. His name is Homo habilis. They call him handyman because he was the first Homo genus member to use tools. He used stone tools. So that's my point. Now, eventually, after other creatures are created, other members of the genus Homo, Homo erectus comes. And Homo erectus, 3 different hominids come from him that I know of. Denisovans, Neanderthals, and modern-day humans. They all evolved from Homo erectus. So my point is this, this is how evolution worked. We were never no monkey. We were never even no tree-dwelling ape.
Like, but I don't know. Like I said, the lemur monkeys got similar DNA to black people, and RH Reese's monkey got similar DNA to the white people. It's in their DNA.
They primates. You saying that you don't believe we come from something that they cousins with?
Nah, I don't think we started walking and all that weirdo shit. I think somebody made that shit.
Started walking like us. Nor did a gorilla. Nor did a chimpanzee, nor did a bonobo, nor did an orangutan. We were never that. They were never us. Once that organism,
that's where I'm at.
Once that organism diverged from the evolutionary path, it became the history of gorillas, just like the history of elephants. It's the same thing, cuz. It's like the history of lions. These lions that are around today are not the first lions, just like we're not the first people.
No, the first lions was over here. Like most other things.
No, they weren't. But I'll let you believe what you want to believe, because you still.
I mean, go look it up, bro. It's very easy.
But then it doesn't say that that's the first lion. That's my thing. That's my issue with you.
Okay.
You're adding
I give you that.
Conjecture.
I give you that. I give you that.
Now, I'm not disputing that the American lion might be arguably the biggest lion, because they don't classify all cats as lions. We both know that. Now, it's just like what I was talking about with the dogs. Look at the difference in how dogs look, even though all dogs come from the same dogs. The way things look is phenotype. That's why we don't use phenotype to tell you where people are from. We don't use the way anybody looks.
I think everybody got kind of different phenotypes. I mean, due to the mixing, you can't really tell, but a lot of different continents got.
Right, not off the first glance.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm saying to you. Like, I can't. I want you to understand this, because you my man. Like, evolution ain't hard to grasp. It's just things changing, Paco. And when you talk about the difference,
but your version, it don't make sense at all. I said, if you want to hold on to that, that's on you. I'm just telling you.
You said that we share DNA with lemurs. I can tell you why. Because lemurs come from primates, and lemurs are like you share DNA with reptiles too. You share DNA with.
Absolutely.
And that's my point. You share DNA with marine life. You are
yes, sir. The white people related to the clown jellyfish, the white triggerfish.
I mean, but everybody would be. The human species, Paco, all comes from the same place.
I mean, if you say so.
The changes in the human race are only due to where people live, what they ate, and who they mix with. That's the difference. It's like animals. It's the same thing. Crocodiles and alligators share archaic ancestor, but at one point alligators went left and crocodiles went right. Therefore, a crocodile is not an alligator. They're 2 different organisms who come from the same ancestor, just like gorillas, chimpanzees, and us. We're not them and they're not us. We share a common ancestor, but you know what's even crazier than that, D? We share a common ancestor with fucking tube worms.
I can see that, yeah.
Because they were the first living organisms on Earth.
That was the first thing.
Exactly, tube worms. So if you go back far enough, you're connected to almost every living organism. But see, it left from the evolution, it diverged from the evolutionary path. The evolutionary path is these cells in every climate, in every year that the world has ever had these cells in it. They're exposed to something different.
A lot of the stuff that on Earth is made, like all these fruits and all these fucking, a lot of these animals and.
Yeah, but a lot of animals ain't made, and I'm gonna tell you why. Because most animals aren't compatible.
But the form we know today, I believe most of them was made.
Animals, they have found a way to be successful. We know about ligers. We know about growler bears.
We know about every type of dog. Them dogs ain't natural.
Right. That's exactly. Neither are the cats.
For sure.
They're domesticated. They're bred to either look a certain way or to do a specific job. You're absolutely correct. Now, humans have done that on accident.
And this word science and scientists is tainted. I'm telling you, people had something better before. That's what I'll be trying to tell you.
That would be a matter of opinion.
Them people in Egypt was taking niggas' lungs and livers and mummifying niggas and shit. Like, that shit ain't natural, bro.
You know, so you already know.
But I'm saying they had different sciences than we had today. They had different rules. They knew different things than we did today.
Yeah, but they also did some things.
So even to say that these scientists are smarter than them back in the day is asinine and stupid.
That's never my point of who's smarter, the people from Egypt or the scientists today. What I'm saying is science makes advancements. People come up with theories and ideologies, and other people try to prove it wrong scientifically. That's the point of science. Exactly. And certain things pretty much hold up under a lot of shit. Certain things hold up under a lot of shit, and then other. I
mean, we wouldn't be driving if science wasn't real. I understand these things. I understand certain things. Certain things are tangible. Certain things are real. But a lot of that shit ain't proven. And plus, when people hiding the truth and hiding different fucking things, where I gotta look under all this shit to prove it to you, it's not right. And the mainline science you're going by is not right. Historically, I look for history. They don't got nothing to do with that. They find some fucking rocks and they measure this shit.
But again, bro, history is probably the worst way to get an accurate truth, because history is the story told by man. Man has been writing for less.
And that's why they're two different things. There's two different things.
Because man has his own rendition, as well as man can only speak on what's going on with him. So if the people in Sicily never went to China, never heard of a China, never knew that part of the world existed, I could see why they would think the world is flat and it only is the land in which they come from.
For sure. Dumb people, yeah. People that wasn't traveling the oceans, people that wasn't mapping shit out.
Exactly. You're exactly correct. What about the people who left Africa and went to the motherfucking islands right there in the fucking Senegalese islands? Those people been isolated. They only mix amongst Senegalese because only Senegalese is there. They don't know anybody else's language. Am I going to call them dumb? No, I'm just going to say that they got lost in time. That's why. Same
reason Africa is pure. Same reason a lot of the tribes was pure in Africa until today. They just don't know nothing. They don't know more.
I agree with you. So when I tell you that we watered down versions of that, what's your problem with that?
I already told you my definition. I think we all came from either Africa or Lemuria anyway. So I don't necessarily understand what you be telling me. I know that you want us to be from Africa since it was all these years ago, and maybe that's the origin.
What I'm saying is not only do the genus Homo originate in Africa, all Homo sapiens...
But that's all the out of Africa, it's still all the out of Africa theory. That's still all the out of Africa theory.
But it's just like the theory of gravity or the theory of evolution. It's been proven right 1,000 times, and where people might have found 10 fallacies in it or come up with 10 arguments, why they don't believe it, that's okay. With 1,000 different dots, it's been proven right. It's like evolution or the theory of gravity. Do niggas really want to test the theory of gravity? Go up to a high-ass building and jump. And when you get to the bottom, if you can, tell me if gravity is real or not, nigga. So don't say because it's a theory.
I mean, that's not proving gravity real. That's proving you a dumbass. But
it is proving that gravity real. See, people who go against the grain, who just want to be argumentative, they'll say word semantics and tell you it's not called that. Well, we don't know what gravity calls itself because we don't know if gravity being conscious. So therefore, the only way to prove scientific theory and a theory are kind of different. Scientific theory is only a theory because science has proved it to be true. In certain aspects, certain cases, in experiments and observed incidents. So that's what a scientific theory is. A theory is when somebody they think something, they believe something based off of whatever premise. A scientific
then it's very easy. Yeah.
But that's not what a scientific theory is.
That's exactly what it is.
No, it's not. A scientific theory is a theory that is only a theory, not because somebody thought it, but because something in science says yes. That's the difference. You don't have a scientific... All right, if you say, I think the sky is light purple and not blue, I could be right, I could be wrong. Everybody
depending on who eye you're looking at it from, yeah.
But that's not my point. My point is, how can I prove that?
Well, the visual, for most people, if 10 people look up at the sky and 9 say it's blue, it's probably blue.
All right, so what I'm saying is, if 1,000 people agree with me or disagree, like you said, 1,000 people look up and say it's blue, they all disagree, right?
Yeah.
So I can't prove that the sky being light purple is right, correct?
But a smart guy would say it's black.
My point is, that would be a theory, something I cannot prove.
That's not a theory. When the sun hit it, it just turned blue.
What I'm saying is, what I said about the sky being light purple, that would be a theory because I can't prove it. A scientific theory is a theory where science says something about it is true, like gravity. The scientific theory of gravity, what says that gravity is true? When you lift something up and drop it, it falls to the ground. What says...
And that's one of the hardest things to argue about because,
it's not,
I mean, it is a such thing as falling down.
It's not. You said the other day, it's forever changing and it's forever going. You're correct. So what you have to go off of is what you have, the most solid evidence of any one thing. Like I asked you in the one video, are North Africans black? And I told you, you think in a singular mind. Some North Africans are black, Paco. Not all of them. But yet...
White people came from Africa too.
No, white folks, there is a small group of white folks, yes, that were created in Africa.
Tanzania. I mean, North Africa, Tunisia.
But those aren't the white people who invaded there. And the white people who invaded there don't come from that same group of white people necessarily. That's what I'm saying to you. Just like
I'm not sure.
There was white people who come from Asia. There was like I said, there was a Caucasian in Asia before. It's not that hard, Pac. It's not that hard. The same mutation can take place.
I just dropped where white people come from, and Chinese people come from Sand people. So there you go.
But white people that we talking about today, as far as Europeans, come from Europe. They don't come from. It's two different sects of white people. People overseas will tell you that real quick. Exactly.
Real quick.
The people that you call Moors are not necessarily the people that you call Bantus. Yes, there are some Moors that are Bantus, but no, there's like people try to say they're not all Berbers. They're not like, these are cultures. Cultures can be assigned to any group of people. It's a culture. It's not a race. You wasn't born that way. So a culture can be assigned to any group of people. Race is different. So now when you start talking about, when I explain to you the skull size, like all black people being Negroids, having Negroid skulls. All Asian people, even Native Americans, have Mongoloid skulls. Now, Caucasians, the mass majority of Caucasians in Europe are white. But you must remember, this is a skull size. There are light-skinned and light brown Caucasians. I mean Caucasoids, not Caucasians, but Caucasoids. They are brown and light and dark tan people who come from white people and not black people. The same process can be done in reverse, where you can introduce black to white people like Stephen Curry. You can take that one of two ways, that white has been introduced to white, or was white introduced to black. Since it's happening in real time, you can't say which way it is. But at the same time, there are people in North Africa whose ancestors are Caucasoids, who come from Europe and were in North Africa. Or like you said, were white Africans.
Yeah.
That's my point. So when you look at people and you say beards and afro, that's not going to tell us who we are, Paco.
I think so.
I mean,
I still think so.
That's your opinion.
Yeah.
What I'm saying is a lot of people have had beards in Africa.
Because a lot of people in Africa can't grow beards and fros, and some can.
I mean, right. Maybe they don't come.
And I guarantee you test both of them, you more related to the ones that got beards and fros, and on the flip side, they not probably related to the ones that don't. So it's very easy. And, what they call it, the two they use the most, the pygmies and the big ones, I forget what they call it, but you know what I'm saying.
I mean, when they say sub-Saharan, they putting a whole bunch of groups together. Everything below the desert and below North Africa, they putting it all together, really, because there are different people down there. There are different Khoisan is down there, Bantu is down there.
Mm-hmm.
You got different people down there. So, but North African, you do have Berbers, you do have Cushites, you do have Nilotics, you do have.
To me, that's always been a mixed multitude type of situation going on in North Africa.
For a very long time, correct. For quite some time now. But again, the Berbers or the Black Arab mixes, those mixes are invaders as well.
And here's what they don't tell you: the Berbers are the Moors, and they related to the barbarians, which is the white people.
Correct. Some Berbers are Moors. Correct. Not all Berbers, because Berber will be talking about a people. Moor would be talking about a culture. You can't assign a whole culture to a group of people. That's like me saying all Europeans are Vikings or all Europeans are Romans. That's not correct. You cannot connect the culture to a complete group of people. So, yes, a lot of Berbers were Moors. You're right.
That's why the Moors was a culture. It wasn't.
Right.
It was a mix between Africans and Negroes.
Yeah, but who are Negroes if they're not Africans?
Who are Negroes if they're not African? Yeah. I don't think we know like I said, when I was reading about it, the Negroes were getting kicked from east to west and ended up just leaving. That's as far as I got. I mean, when the people talk about the expansion, I think that's what they talk about.
Me and you both agree that Africans was in America before Europeans. I never disputed that claim. I always point to the Olmec civilization being named as the first. I'm starting to read some stuff where some people is claiming the Toltecs is as old, but from what I be reading,
the Toltecs is what?
As old as the Olmecs, but then I read some other shit that say they young as shit. So
yeah.
I don't know. I got to do more homework on these Toltec people, but to my knowledge, the Olmecs is the oldest, and I'm 100% convinced that they black. I'm 100% convinced that they African. I'm 100% convinced that, like I'm saying, if you wanna, you know what you should do? You should come up with a theory about how you believe that once an African gets to the Caribbean islands and lives there for a certain amount of time, he's no longer an African, or he's a subspecies of
evolved.
I mean, but evolution, if we have never seen it, that would be like some fast evolution. That don't mean your genetics completely have an overhaul.
I'm just saying, if you want to call us Africans, you got to call Chinese people Africans, white people Africans first, and then you can go ahead and do me like that.
See, but my issue with that is this. My personal issue with that is this. I tend to believe that more black people came here either during and after slavery than came before. I tend to believe that due to the population of America as a whole, and anywhere where black people was really jumping, like India, Africa, anywhere that they really jumping, like where they the majority of the population, they grow like fucking rabbits.
But at the same time, there's a big mixing going on between Africans and Negroes, so it's very hard to understand exactly where certain people came from. You know what I'm saying?
I'm not saying that
it wasn't a thing. We wasn't talking like this back then.
But I'm not even talking about the terminology of it. I'm just talking about the actual travel. When you travel there, to me, is less important of who you mix with since you traveled there or on your way to traveling there. That would be what would be my if somebody was trying to argue what you kind of try to argue, because in certain aspects you can be correct, in other aspects it don't seem like you on point as much. When you say that black people are Native Americans, that's partly true. Some Native Americans are black. Nobody is excluding black people from being Native Americans. Now, do you want me to believe that the mass majority of the population of Native Americans in North and South America are black? I don't personally believe that. Now, I'll go with it for the sake of an argument and say, okay.
I mean, they live here on the side of us, so I see how you can be confused with talking about it.
I agree with that both of y'all was here. I just personally agree. I just personally feel that due to how America was when Europeans got here, I do not think the number of black people was as exclusive as people who claim to be the Native Americans would say it.
And I think it's 1,000 times more than you think, way more than you can even muster.
What's the number that you believe I believe?
I don't got no numbers. I'm just telling you in the millions, and the millions, in the millions, millions and millions and millions.
And like I said, I'm not even mad at you saying millions, but you got to help me out, because let's do a comparison. If there's around a little less than 50 million black people in North America today, and Native Americans make up less than 5% of the population, you can add those two people together.
So is there more Native Americans than black people today?
No, I'm not saying that it is.
Wrong.
In South America, though, some people would say there is.
But South America got a completely different history than anywhere else.
They had more Native Americans, just like South America got more black people than North America. All the way around the board. South America would be a better standard to work off of because you have a bigger number of people.
Well, yeah.
But even when you get with the South America shit, how many of those people is white? Exactly.
I mean, no, I think we got that Chinese mix down there. There was Chinese people down there taking over and working with them and doing different things.
You look at both Americans combined, you don't have, Chinese people don't make up 10% of their population. So
I mean, even they go to South America and do all this cultural stuff because they know a large portion of their people was in South America for a long freaking time.
But my whole thing is, it's a rough statement because a large portion of whose people.
Before the Spaniards got there, it was Chinese and black people down there. And due to the elusive samurai culture, even probably before that samurai stuff, they was coming over here.
Any of them could have brought samurai teachers. Black people, Native Americans, I believe any of them could have brought that shit because both of them, depending on what Native Americans, the Serbians come from, or the people of Siberia come from, depending on what Asians they come from, we know the black people was involved in ancient Japan. We know this. So we know the black people can have it. And just like the people of the Polynesian and all.
But you might not understand me when I say this is evidence, and people got the evidence. That's how I learned all this stuff in the first place before anybody else that you know. They had this information before any freaking body else you know had this information. I think and heard that Chinese and black people is the only ones mixing in South America at a certain point in time.
Nobody can make that distinction.
And they got the tribe names and they got everything else.
Think about it. How hard would it be for one person to say what was going on in all of South America amongst all the different tribes?
Because that man did the research, and nobody. Then I still didn't hear from.
Think about how much research it would take for him to identify every tribe in South America and say that
they took it offline. And actually, I'm gonna look for it and I'll send it to you, and you're gonna be like, "Oh, that's what Pac talking about."
What I'm saying,
the nigga break it down.
But he
break down the Chinese history too. The nigga, the Naga Joan, that's him. But before that, he had he was breaking down all the tribes in America, just letting you know what it was. And he went very, very deep, more deep than the niggas the Nagas one. The nigga the Naga one's still online if you want to look at it. That same man broke down the Americas.
But what I'm saying to you is for him to identify every single tribe in South America and say who they procreated with, that's a pretty rough stretch.
I'm just telling you the information is there, so there's no way I could be swayed.
Do we know every South American tribe that's ever existed? Do we have a name for them?
I'm sure he didn't know, but he named like at least 100 and hundreds and hundreds while he was breaking it down.
Is he correct about those hundreds? Even if he's 100% accurate, is it reasonable to believe that there's still possibly hundreds he did not name?
For sure.
Okay. So that means he would be just as right as he is wrong, right?
Oh, I'm never discrediting that man, because that man put me on where I am today.
But you just did. You just said that there is just as much of a possibility of him missing.
You're talking about the Chinese and black mixing. But before Chinese and black, it was just black. And he went through all the black, and he even told you when the Chinese people came and started making different tribes. Because they was fleeing from oppression over there in China and Japan.
So let me get this right. In America, you had millions of black people. In America, you had millions of Chinese people.
Especially in South America, yeah.
And then you also had millions of these Native Americans or quote unquote Asian migrators.
Correct? Yeah.
So why is the population of America lower than it is in other places with those groups of people?
It's not. I mean, South America is fucking huge.
Yeah, but South America...
It got many, many, many people.
But it got about
same people I'm talking about.
It got about half as many people as Africa.
I mean, you keep comparing everything to Africa, but that's very close. Like, they got a fucking, like, if you want to count, go ahead. But it's a lot of motherfuckers.
For me and you particularly are black people. So if I'm looking at black people, do you believe that the mass majority of Europeans across the globe come from Europe?
The mass white people?
The majority of Europeans who are, I guess we would call them the European diaspora.
Mm-hmm.
You believe that most of those white folks come from Europe, like the ones in Australia, the ones in America, South America, Canada?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
I agree with you. 1,000%. So now, if we apply the same logic to black people, where would black people originate at? Where there's the most of them, like white people, right?
Like I said, it was the Indian people the black people with the long hair and the white looking hair, but it's black, and it was us after that.
That's a group. That's one group of black people.
And then it was your Africans that you keep giving credit to, yeah.
But what I'm saying is, how do you know which one was first or which one come from which and which one you are? Because
it's well documented by people looking up history and mythos, and it's very documented. It's documented for real. Like,
so what does the documentation say?
That's everybody taking stories from around the world and different legends, and they all.
What legends? Why would these stories and legends be important?
Because legends kind of got truth into it. Like legend, and if you keep hearing the same story over and over, I mean, scientifically, you're just gonna be like, all right, well,
according to who?
That's what I believe would happen.
According to who?
According to the shamans, according to the elders and all of them, bro.
Believe this?
Around that area, especially, and you go to Africa, bro.
So what I'm saying is, there's no people who don't believe in something different.
Go to Dagon. Go to Dagon tribe. Do what you got to do. You're going to find everything I'm telling you to be correct.
Right. They study the stars.
You try to throw salt in any way you can. I'm just telling you what all the legends told. Like, I done read more than one, more than two, more than three.
So basically, you would rather...
A lot of people agree. All the smart people.
What I'm saying is you would rather get your truth from legends than science. Basically, is what you...
No, everybody compiled this information for me already.
No. I'm not asking about that. I'm saying, so what you're saying is that you would rather get your information from the legends than science.
The legends are before science, so...
I agree with you. But
I don't get what you're really saying.
But just because something came before, does it mean it's correct?
You know, scientists go to Buddhist camps and the Buddhist people just as smart as they are.
You know, most.
Do you know that?
You know, most.
They tell you that. You can read them stories.
But smart.
And them people know just as much as them through archaeology. And Buddhists, they not as smart as certain other Buddhists and other higher people in religions. It's common freaking sense. I meditated on what I was trying to get, and most people do.
According to who?
Huh?
According to who? That Buddhists are smarter than scientists. Do Buddhists create...
no, they just say they on par with everything the scientists be knowing. They go to the Buddhist people, and it matches up.
Oh, what have they created that the scientists have created?
Technology.
So Buddhists created technology?
What you mean? Do they create technology? They got technology.
Do they have technology that's on par with scientists?
For sure.
So they have technology that's on par with satellites and cell phones and automobiles and steam engines and jet engines and rocket fuel and all those things. Well, how come they haven't contributed to the rest of the world?
You talking about outer vein things, bro? They do their own thing. They got stupas. They got pyramids and fucking. You tripping, yo?
So you saying Buddhists created pyramids?
Did I say that? That's what you just said. I said they made them. So they made their own.
No. But once
they made their own,
Once somebody makes something, all you need is the design. Now all you need is the architecture. When
Buddhism was prime, when Buddhism was at its highest peak, I keep asking you to look up this history. I keep asking you because it wasn't even that long ago. They was building pyramids every freaking where. They was building more pyramids than these, like more structures than these Egyptian people.
I'm not saying what you're saying but what I'm asking you is I'm not comparing Buddhists and Egyptians. I'm comparing them with scientists.
I'm saying they had their own technologies. If you go to a freaking Buddhist, if you go to these Buddhist places, you'll figure out that what you're saying is asinine.
No, I don't believe it is, because I believe that the scientists have contributed far more to society than the Buddhists have.
I don't believe that at all.
So you're talking on a cell phone. Did the scientists create that, or did the Buddhists create that? You drive a car. Did the scientists create that, or did the Buddhists?
Do you know the human body is also technology? Do you know that?
The Buddhists didn't create your body, though. So what's the point of...
I mean, you being real nitpicky crazy right now.
I'm not nitpicky about anything. I'm making it easily... I'm letting you kill yourself.
Their mind is just as sharp as these people you're talking about. Scientists didn't do all this shit neither.
We agree there. But what does that have to do with the Buddhists being...
How you know they didn't get this shit from a freaking Buddhist? How you know? You just talking.
I'm asking you. I'm not just talking. I'm asking you so you can tell us.
What do you want to know? Because Buddhist people created things just as well as the stuff you talking about.
They didn't create anything that's advanced.
What make you think you can't be a Buddhist and create an airplane? What makes you think that?
Because they never did it. Now you're talking about something different. Like I said, the strength of humanity is the fact that we share information.
All right, so you believe the Wright brothers is the one that made a plane? Yes or no?
I didn't say that.
Yes or no? North Carolina.
I don't believe that. The
Raleigh.
plane exists before the.
Where my people at? Where my people at? You think the white man just went there and created a plane on his own?
I don't believe the white man created the plane. I believe a black man created the plane as well as the plane's engine.
And they said they got many graphs of planes and other things from back in history, but since some nigga claiming science, you won't act like he built it. What type of shit you want?
To you is this. The type of shit I'm on is the success and fail rate of trial and error. If somebody tries something and
white men tell you ain't nothing new under the sun, but for some reason they taught you to just believe they did every fucking thing. For some odd, strange reason.
I believe that when I just said a black man created the airplane and its engine. How do I?
Because you wouldn't be lying. So.
Huh?
I said you would not be lying. That's fucking true.
All right. So. Why
the Moors got pictures of them flying in fucking planes. I don't know what you're saying.
Yeah, but
I don't get it.
But you gotta understand something. Let me help you out. When you say Moors are in airplanes, right? All you're saying is that the Moors culture existed when airplanes existed. I'm talking.
Nah, they got.
I'm talking about.
They got pictures. Look up Moors and airplanes, bro.
So I'm not saying that they don't. What I just said was
the plane just came out like 100 years ago, or maybe a little more.
Yeah, a little more, but that's my point. Is this? That's still an invention of science, as is the engine, as is the fuel injection system. These are inventions of science, as is the.
And you know who's creating this stuff still to today, right? You know who's creating this stuff, right?
Those people are black people.
All you gotta do is go to Nigeria, and you're gonna see all the hot shit. You feel me?
I agree with you, and my point is that most of those Nigerians do not, the ones who make these things, the ones who come up with these things, there is no way that you can connect any culture or any group of migrated people to them. You are not those people, so you cannot take credit for their accomplishments.
You don't know that.
I do.
You definitely don't know that.
I do know that. You cannot say that I'm going to tell you why. You cannot say that most of the black people in America come from Nigerians. That's how I can say that. I can make a definitive statement based off the fact that there is no evidence on earth that would say more than half, which would signify most, of the black people in America come from Nigerians or anybody from East Africa for that matter. You have no evidence of that. There is no evidence of that. So if you want to say people in pictures look like other people in pictures, therefore they must be the same people, that would be a fallacy. That would be a fallacy that you created on your own. You created something that don't exist scientifically, because scientifically the way people look does not dignify who they are or where they came from. So you're creating black and white fallacies where you're only giving yourself two answers. You're only giving yourself left and right.
You credited them with all these inventions, and I said no.
No, you just said that Nigerians created all this stuff. I didn't say that.
I didn't say that. I said they created a lot of stuff. You just keep trying to put me in some other direction.
The point is, you can do that with any group of people in the world. Even
black people created the computers and these fucking cell phones you fucking talking about, and somebody took the fucking patent, like always.
Black people in Africa. A black man from Africa created the internet too. What's your
point? Exactly.
So
that is my point.
Now you want me to throw my conjecture in it?
That is my point.
I'll tell you what the type of stuff I think is. So if black people in Africa are making internet, that means that they've been learning longer than everybody.
It's not just them. Everybody is. I'm just telling you that's where most of these inventions coming from today.
No, everybody is not creating the internet. A black man, an African man created
white people can't even write paying a damn Nigerian over in Nigeria. I don't want to hear this shit.
So what you saying will go with what I believe. What you saying go with what I believe. If you saying, and I'll quote him.
Just because I'm African, it don't mean nothing else, bro. It don't mean anything else. You keep trying to be like, oh, you're saying Nigeria, so Nigeria is Africa. No, man.
No, that's not what I was saying. I never made that distinction. It doesn't matter where in Africa you go. It doesn't matter where in Asia you go. You can take black people from Australia.
You don't know if them niggas mixed. You don't know shit.
You cannot claim their accomplishments. You cannot look at people with
I never
afros
did.
and beards and
I
say they're
just
the
told
same
you.
people. You can't do it. Impossible.
I ain't say that.
You've been
said
doing
that.
that this whole time. You've been
No,
doing
I
that
have
this
not.
whole
Not
time.
once.
All these episodes. This is episode 30, and you've been doing this the whole time. You go from DNA evolution don't exist to evolution do exist. DNA.
You try to throw leaves on a fucking trail. I'm telling you what it is. I ain't say that we were Nigerians, or I ain't say nothing like that. I said that's where all them new inventions come from, them robots and shit. That's what I was saying. And all types of shit.
Some do and some don't.
All fucking type. They and in my opinion, they are some of the smartest people in the world, if not the smartest. I'm not saying none of that. Black people, just like what beards and froze created, half of the shit too. Nobody get credit, but since we under oppression, we don't get credit for it.
I didn't say that.
We don't get credit for our inventions, bro.
But what I'm saying is, all right, let's do it like this.
Shakespeare, he wasn't writing the shit. It was another black nigga helping him.
I'm not disputing.
Like, come on, bro.
I'm not disputing that. The whole European history is due to black people. We can stop with the white folk shit right there.
Because a lot of black people is Europeans.
Agree, but still, even the shit that Europeans never put out there that black folks got credit to, they say that 70% of inventions from white Americans, black slaves created. Just like there's an old joint out there, use a little bit of logic. They say, why would a person like a slave master who is so keen on oppression create a cotton gin? So they say, well, a slave must have created it, and white supremacists will tell you they created it to make production.
No, they wanted to act like that's the only type shit we was making with George Washington Carver, and that's just not the case. That's not the case at all. We invented every damn thing.
Agreed.
Everything.
Agreed.
And then they made up something called a patent and act like they invented it.
Agreed.
Boom. Done.
Now, agreed. So now, with all these black people on Earth who are creating things, ask yourself, what group of black people have created the most? And law.
Yeah, I do not know. I know the Moors created more things than this law allowed, and they got it right on paper.
Yeah, but
you can just look it right up.
Things in Africa ain't Moors. We can dead that now. We're not gonna play the word games.
Nah, I'm talking about up there in Spain. I'm talking about it over there.
But we already
they created a lot of fucking shit.
Everything in Europe, black people is the originators of it.
Yeah, it's on paper though. There. So we can't agree. We can't even argue on that.
Exactly. European history. It's the same. Listen to me now. I'm glad we both agree on that because I'm about to show you something. I'm about to show you what I've been saying to you, but you wouldn't receive it the way I've been giving it to you. The same way Europeans don't start moving forward until black people get there. Same thing with America. Same thing with America. Same thing with Asia.
You know, when you kill people, you might not know how it works until you keep studying. It might take 2 generations when you killed the nigga that made the plane to figure it out yourself. You feel me? Yeah, that's what goes on. That's what's happening.
They force them to teach them how it works. So they can.
It's only common sense.
I'm not saying that white folks created these things. That's not my argument. My argument is actually, as we call civilization.
All right, say this. Rappers, they make all the fucking music, but do they own it? Do they own that or they own fucking self? No, they fucking don't.
Right.
No, they fucking don't.
Right.
No, they don't.
Right.
And that's the same thing they was doing back then.
Agreed. But
now these niggas got to spread open their fucking butt cheeks to make a fucking album. So fuck that. And that's why I don't fuck with these motherfuckers, man.
Agreed. So my whole point is, and my whole point has always been, when you talking about humans, especially black ones, every other human being on the planet has went extinct, except for Homo sapien. And the ones who was around in his time went extinct partially due to him.